And we're back with episode 5 of Saloon Sports with Ben and Walter. And Ben's in his Cowboys jersey right now. I'm not sure whose jersey that is, but Trey will tell
Dwayne
you
Harris.
Dwayne Harris, ECU alumni, for those of you who don't understand that connection, why we would be supporting a Giant. But yeah, small Dwayne Harris story. Yeah, I actually met him on campus while he was playing at ECU, and I was an undergrad. And yeah, cool dude. He's actually a really cool dude. He'll talk to you. Didn't even really at first recognize who he was. And was like, hey, Dwayne Harris. Like, yeah. And talk a little bit. And, yeah, guy's down to earth. He's pretty cool. Definitely not a prima donna or anything like that. But yeah, it's a little Dwayne Harris story. But yeah, today we're going to go through the game preview. We're going to talk about. We're going to go through our pick'ems, and we're going to have a segment called Small Talk where we just go back and forth and talk about whatever comes to mind. So yeah, how are you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good about yourself.
Not doing bad, not doing bad. And I guess we'll jump into the game preview and what's going on there. It looks like the Marcus Lawrence he's on the injury report for Wednesday and Thursday, showing that he's has dealing with a calf injury. He doesn't look like he's in any danger of not playing. Cole Beasley returned to practice on today, or on Thursday. He returned back to practice, so it looks like he's on track to play in this game. By all accounts, Cheeto is not going to play again, which is a game you were going to need him for. And on the Chiefs side, it looks like D Ford, their pass rusher, outside outside linebacker in their 3-4 scheme, is not going to play, dealing with some kind of back problem. He hasn't practiced. He didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. And they have a backup wide receiver who looks like he's not going to play either. Other than that, the team seemed to be rather healthy, so everyone's all systems go. And going forward, other than that, this game is played in Dallas, so it's a game you hope the Cowboys will win, but it's definitely going to be a challenge, and I can let Ben get into more of that right now.
Well, yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge because of the way our defense matches up with all the offensive weapons that the Chiefs have. And when you combine that with Alex Smith playing way better than he ever has before, it's going to be an extremely tough matchup. And you alluded to us playing at home, but then again, home field advantage isn't really something that passed in Dallas. I think the Jerry World is too big to where the sound just, even though you have over 100,000 people in there, the sound level just isn't enough to make a difference on the field. So it's going to be a tough matchup either way.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be problematic for the Cowboys defense and how they approach that's honestly where I think the game comes down. You've got to take something away from the Chiefs, and you hope that's the running game, but still, even if the running game is shut down, they still have the weapons to make something happen on the outside. Or, I mean, Kelsey's a tight end, but the guy plays like a wide receiver, so you have to match up some way, somehow, while still getting pressure on Alex Smith. So you hope you can get pressure with your front four, who've been doing it all year. So you hope they have a big game this week and make Alex Smith uncomfortable, make him inaccurate or something. I mean, it's problematic. I'm sure Rod Marinelli and his staff had stayed up all week trying to figure something out, because this is the most challenging matchup they've had all year.
Yeah, there's no question. I think the biggest matchup to look at in terms of the Cowboys' success will be our defensive line against the offensive front for the Kansas City Chiefs. Whether or not we can stop Hunt is going to be a big thing to do. Going to be a big thing to look for as well, because over the past few weeks, with especially with Aaron Jones ripping apart our defense, if we can hold Kareem Hunt to yards, then there's a good chance we could win. But it's just I don't see that happening because we haven't been able to stop the run all season.
Yeah, the 49ers were actually running the ball pretty decently until that game got out of hand. Pretty good back there in Carlos Hyde. So they just have to decide what they want to take away. getting to Rob Marinelli's tendencies. I see him still playing soft shell secondary. I doubt they play single safety high much this week. That's asking for Tyreek Hill to blow the top off of that long touchdowns. So I don't know. I'm leaning towards them trying to take away the passes as much as possible and hope the front four can get some sort of catch back.
Yeah, one of the biggest keys is gonna have to be making Alex Smith uncomfortable. Like, we know he can throw on the run, but we can't give him the open throwing lanes and make it easy on him. We have to play close enough to where he doesn't have a guy wide open, and hopefully we can put enough help on Tyreek Hill to where there isn't that over the top throw that's wide open as well.
I think one of the biggest matchups is going to be Travis Kelce and Byron Jones. Throughout Byron Jones' career in Dallas, he's been matching up against tight ends. Pretty much, sometimes it's through the whole game. Your job is to take away a very, really good tight end. If he can limit Kelce, they have a lot of work in making Hill and Hunt not be big factors. If that happens, I have a question. I just hope Byron Jones steps up and can limit Kelce as much as possible. And also another question is with Andy Reid's offense, they get very creative. So there's going to be some wrinkles thrown in there that Cowboys might have come on. You just got to be ready for it. I just got to hope they do already. I mean, you have to hope.
Yeah, you're going to have to hope. Ultimately, I think the only way we can win is to, as far as Kelce is concerned, is to limit the amount of times he catches a touchdown pass. He's going to have the matchup advantage in the open field, but when they're in the red zone and the field gets a little more compact, we're going to have to stop them from getting the touchdown with Kelce and force them to kick a field goal. If we can force them into a field goal situation more than half the drives, then there's a very good chance that the offense can put up enough points to come out with the win.
And that's a good transition to what the offense is facing. It's going to be the first game without Ezekiel Elliott. There is still the odd 0.01% chance that there could be a ruling on Friday night or later tonight that he gets an emergency stay again. But that's unlikely. So it won't be the team's going to be relying on Demarius Fadden, Morris, Robert Smith, and then some sort of committee that no one will commit to what they're planning on doing, but they're going to have to run the ball and figure it out somehow.
Yeah, this is going to be a big test for the offense, but next man up. So we're just going to try to do the best with Alfred Morrison and company. I don't foresee any one back, carrying the workload more than others. Is probably going to be a split carry down the three ways. Maybe Smith will get a few less touches than Morris and McFadden, but I think with them three together, they should put up at least 120 yards of offense on the ground. And with that type of production, that does open up things for Dak. So if we can just average 4.5 yards a carry, then it should be enough for Dak and the wide receivers to pick up the slack and put up points.
Honestly, I'll take 4 yards a carry. But that's interesting to say that a lot of the commentators who work with the team on the Dallas Cowboys website have been speaking about they want to see Rod Smith get the most touches. And that, to me, like, you're falling in love with him. Well, I get both a lot of people do backup quarterbacks, especially in college. And I don't see that. I mean, I want him to get touches, but do I want to see him get 20, 25 touches? Just go into a game. That's the game plan. You're running 25 pounds. Be prepared for it. Not when you have guys who've done it like Alfred Morris and Aaron Pratt. That would be a little bit of a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody that says that about Smith is obviously thinking we're throwing in the towel without Zeke and giving a guy who's essentially unproven and untested a bulk of the carries. No, that's not the mentality that Garrett and the Cowboys are going into this week with. We're going into a must-win to keep pace with the Eagles. So we're going to put our best foot forward, and unfortunately for Smith, that doesn't involve him getting a bulk of the carries.
I definitely think he can play a role if he shows something in these games. First couple of games where he's making significant plays, yeah, then yeah, he can earn his way to that role. But again, Alfred Morris and Darren McFadden put 1,000-yard seasons as a lead back in the NFL. Alfred Morris has been a couple of Pro Bowls, so I mean, so I wouldn't just go into and say, "Hey, Matt Smith, you're tough. Go get 25. Go take 25 carries." I would not do that. That to me would seem to be a little off. You're going to see because you think he's tough, and the guy agrees he's tough. You can have a role, and he'll have his chances. But for him being the lead back right now, I don't really think that would be the best move going forward.
No, I agree completely. I think if we run the offense like we should and want to, we're probably going to rush maybe 30 times, 30, 35. And out of that, Smith ideally would get 8 to 10, no more than that.
Yeah, I would have no problems with it. And then that's also interesting. Kansas City Chiefs give up yards. Their defense, especially when they're missing an all-pro safety, it has not been locked down. They're stopping the defense. They give up around the same amount of points as the Cowboys do. They give up rushing yards. They give up passing yards. It's still possible for the Cowboys to get yards on this team.
Yeah, the defense has been more porous this year than in years past, but where the Chiefs do make up for it is on their special teams unit, and that does pay dividends to help cover up some of the holes that they do have on the defensive side of the ball.
And speaking of special teams, that might be what it's been. One the Cowboys the past couple of weeks has been great on special teams, making plays, causing turnovers. If they can do that in a game like this, Brian Switzer has a good return, there's another ball kick, there's another forced fumble, that can change this game around and give the Cowboys a big advantage if they are able to make something happen on special teams.
Yeah, no question. The special teams have played phenomenal last couple of weeks, which is something I'm not used to in Dallas. I mean, we had Dwayne Harris a few years ago. It's just a coincidence there. And he did well for us in the return game. But since he left, we really haven't had that since. Hopefully Switzer can start to put up more. That extra 10 yards proves vital more often than not. And we've got to win the field position battle if we're going to have a chance.
Yeah, and that's Tony Crawford for his block field goal. That changed around the game here. Our special teams player of the week in the NFC. And we've seen 4 times by Keith Smith, Kevin Frazier as well in the past couple of weeks. Yeah, special teams have been often overlooked since the NFL decided to move that to kickoffs. People are like, oh, there's no kick return, special teams don't matter anymore. Well, that's just not the case.
No, it's not the case. And one misconception that most fans have is the special teams is only about returns. No, but what we have done well over the past few weeks is tackle on special teams. And that's going to be very big, especially when you're going up against Tyreek Hill.
Definitely. Chris Jones is one of the best directional punters in the NFL, and this is the week to keep that up.
Yeah.
Like they
kick it out of bounds. Just kick it out of bounds.
Yeah, I was going to say they might just go to conference and say, hey, Jones, just kick it out of bounds. Tell me to bother trying with this guy. But yeah, that's pretty much the rundown of this week and everything that the Cowboys have to look forward to, and we'll pick a winner of the game in our pick'em segment. But before we go on to the next, I think the big thing is plays without Zeke, and if he can continue playing with efficiency, and he might need to make more plays with his arm. If that's the case, I think we can definitely do it. Beasley's playing. You have all your other weapons, and you're going to have a semblance of a running game. The running game's not going to go because Zeke isn't there. So a lot will come around like this game.
Yeah, this game's going to be big for Dak. He hasn't had the same amount of hype this season as he did in his rookie campaign. I guess mainly because it's been overshadowed by the entire Zeke situation, which is no big deal there. I think if we need Dak to step up, I think he's a capable enough passer to get that done. I'm not too concerned about it, but we have to get the running game going in order for Dak to be able to do his thing because he's best off the bootleg, pulling out of the pocket, as we both know. Getting him in those situations early is going to be crucial for his success across the course of the game.
And I would tread lightly with Marcus Peters because he's shadowing Dez. Only throws I would throw would be slants. Everything else would work. Peters that's an elite cornerback. So he got Trevor Sidney twice last week. One of those throws is a throw you don't even see on Saturdays by FCS quarterback. That's a little different story there. Simeon's play lately, which got him benched. So yeah, Marcus Peters and Justin Houston are the guys to watch on their defense that could cause problems.
Yeah, no question about that. Hopefully, our offensive line will give us enough time for Dak to progress through his reads. So, because I don't, like you said, I don't see Dez getting open too often. So he's going to need the time to progress and find that next guy.
And yeah, moving into we can switch over to our the next topic of discussion, and that's getting into looking at the picks for this week. You want to? Seemingly we went through it before we started recording, and there's some interesting picks and there's some interesting selections we made. I'll let you go through that for everyone.
Yeah, it's definitely real interesting. I've never really come across this before, but other than one game, we picked the same ones for across the board. I guess we'll start off with the Colts and the Texans. How do you feel that's going to go?
Deshaun Watson just tore his ACL in practice. So on Thursday practice tore his ACL. That means Tom Savage is going to get the start. So with that being said, I believe the Colts have enough, and that's to win that game with Jacoby Brissett, Frank Gore, and enough on offense, enough on defense to slow them down. So I think Colts actually pulled that one out now with Watson missing that game.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And also to add to the Colts, I think this might be the week that Marlon Mack starts to edge out Frank Gore as the running back in Indianapolis. I think over the past couple of weeks he's made strides, and especially in the passing game. But he's just a dynamic runner, and Gore's age is starting to catch up with him. While Gore's still being productive with his carries, Marlon Mack adds a little more of a speed factor, and a breakaway speed. Moving on to the Bengals and the Jaguars.
And yeah, we ended up going with the Jaguars there, mostly because of the Jaguars' defense. Blake Bortles is still not being productive as a quarterback. He's just not losing games right now because they have Fournette and they're leaning on the running game, and their defensive line is savage. Their defense is playing great. And Cincinnati has been up and down. You really can't expect you can't go into a game knowing how they're going to play. They've been so sporadic. So just going with the Jaguars at home seems to be the most logical choice there.
Yeah, the Bengals' running game has been suspect the whole year. I mean, Joe Mixon's has decent numbers, but their biggest problem is they haven't been able to get the ball to A.J. Green in the end zone very, very much. Like Green's still getting his stats, but is not hasn't been as productive in the scoring department as years past, and ultimately that's stalled a lot of the Bengals' drives so far. That tied with the stellar Jaguars defense, I just don't see Andy Dalton being able to overcome that. That's a great point about the running game in Jacksonville. Like, it's just uh, Bortles doesn't need to throw the ball 40 times anymore, which is where most of his interceptions came from in the past. They haven't had a running game, so they drop everybody into coverage, and Bortles tries to force it in small windows. You haven't seen too much of that this year because they've been in most games and have still been able to run the ball and not abandon that early and just toss it around. So I think Jacksonville will come out on top in this one. Buccaneers and Saints.
Yeah, Buccaneers are. I'm starting to think it's starting. They have everything around the quarterback for the quarterback to be successful, but the quarterback is still being a little suspect there. So I got the Saints winning that game. The offense is still Saints. Drew Brees' offense and their defense isn't as paper thin as it has been the past 3 seasons. They're going in that game 5-2 at home. I don't think Tampa Bay has enough to win that game unless Jameson Winston plays outside of his mind. So I picked the Saints because I don't expect him to make a big leap anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't either. I was really banking on Jameis Winston putting it together this season and being a top 10 quarterback, but that just hasn't happened. Uh, Drew Brees has the Saints offense firing on all cylinders. Alvin Kamara has been a nice pickup out of the backfield, especially in the passing game. And I just think the Saints have too many weapons, even with their suspect defense. I just think they'll be able to outscore the Buccaneers. Rams and Giants.
1-6 Giants with still nothing to speak about on offense other than Eli Manning and Evan Ingram. So just on that alone, the Rams. The Rams have holes and they can you can score points on the Rams defense, but not with what the Giants have. The only chance the Giants have is their defense plays outside of its mind, but evidently Janoris Jenkins was indefinitely suspended this week, so that takes away a very top 15, top 10 cornerback in the NFL away from that defense. So I think the Rams slaughter them, even though the game's at home. For the Giants, it's Rams all the way in that one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the Rams defense it's not as strong as it was last year, but it's still a lot stronger than what the Giants offensive line is right now. Well, excuse me, not the Giants offense is right now.
Oh, it starts with their offensive line.
And the offensive line for New York is terrible as well. It's just how it came out. But yeah, I don't see that being a close game at all. But when the odds are stacked against Eli, he can put up some big numbers even with shitty wide receiving core to go with it. So we'll see what happens, but I don't foresee it being a close game either. Falcons and Panthers.
Man, going into the season, you would think this game was going to be one of the highlights of the two games of this year to be the highlights of the season. Right now, this game looks like this might be just ugly, just real ugly, because both teams are struggling on offense. Cam Newton has been a scandal the past 2 weeks with things coming out of his mouth that shouldn't come out of his mouth, or him leaving a press conference for a very easy sports question. I picked the Falcons just because Cam Newton, when you look at his numbers, he's won a total quarterback rating, QBR. He's really down, like very down. He's really bad right now. So a lot of it falls on him. They just traded Kelvin Benjamin to the Bills. So yeah, I just think the Saints are going to score enough. I don't think they're going to solve all their problems this week, but I think they score. It's a low-scoring game. Falcons score enough points, they win that game on the road.
Yeah, the Panthers' biggest asset is their defense, and I don't see Cam Newton coming out and having a big game after they traded away his favorite wide receiver outside of Greg Olsen, who should be coming back in a couple weeks. But they still have Devin Funchess, but the problem with the the Panthers' offense this season is they don't have that deep speed threat that they've had in years past with Ted Ginn. Most of their leading pass catcher has been McCaffrey out of the backfield, and you're just not going to – it changes the entire dynamic of the Panthers' offense at that point. When you're tossing the ball out of the backfield, the defense can creep up. Kelvin Benjamin has done his work in the red zone, but when the Panthers are at their best, they have a guy that can back the defense up with a deep ball, and they just haven't had that. With that being said, I think the Falcons still have that type of talent on offense. It's more, like I said last week, it's more of an offensive coordinator problem. Hopefully they get that turned around against a familiar defense, and I think the Falcons will come out on top. Broncos and the Eagles.
Broncos just made the most ironic quarterback changes in the history of the NFL in the past 10 seasons. Brock Osweiler was named starting quarterback over Trevor Siemian, the famous guy who bolted town to Houston for a $70 million contract, got benched fairly quickly, then was traded to the Cleveland Browns, who were, I believe, still paying the most of his contract, re-signed on almost veteran minimum, back to the Broncos to be a third quarterback. It was during one Paxton Lynch had his arm problems he was still having. And now Brock Osweiler is back starting his first game as a Denver Bronco since their Super Bowl season under Peyton Manning and that gigantically amazing defense they had that year. That's just poetic. You can't write any better than that. So even though that being said, they're playing against the Eagles team, and that defensive line is going to chew him to pieces. It's not going to be a good ending for him. I don't see it. They've struggled. Their defense is still playing reasonably well. I mean, they're still playing pretty well. They held the Chiefs in check. That's the only chance they have is their defense playing outside of its mind. I don't expect Brock Osweiler to light up the show or anything. He has the weapons to do it. It's just I don't think Brock Osweiler is the quarterback to do that. So I picked the Eagles just because their defensive line is just going to chew up the Broncos in this game.
Yeah, the Broncos' defense's Achilles heel has been the turnovers from Trevor Siemian. They've just been on the field way too much. They play well in the game, but over the course, after all those turnovers, they just get tired and end up giving points. It's just you can't win that way, and I don't see them having that much of an upgrade from Trevor Siemian to Brock Osweiler. To see more out of Emmanuel Sanders this week because he has been injured and he has played when Osweiler was the quarterback with him and Demaryius Thomas on both sides. They did move the ball a lot better than they have been in the past few weeks. So I think Osweiler will be a slight upgrade, but not enough to overcome a tough Eagles offense and defense.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I'm not sure how big of an I expected a lot more out of Trevor Siemian this season. I expect him to take a step forward. But it is what it is. I don't know. I don't have any faith in Brock Osweiler being a starting quarterback. So I think the Eagles are. I think just the defensive line is just going to match. Just going to match them to pieces. So yeah, I don't think that game's going to be that close in Philadelphia.
No, it probably won't be. Ravens and Titans.
Ravens put the beat down of all-time boring beat down on the Dolphins last week on Thursday Night Football. Most boring 40-0. So, but still with that being said, I don't think they're a complete team. And the Titans have enough to run the ball. They can throw the ball. Marcus Mariota is Marcus Mariota. I expect them to win that game. Titans to win that game that night.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Joe Flacco looks like he can clear the protocol, but I don't think that's enough. I don't think he should, but at the same time, they're still in contention. They're trying to win. I think the Titans have too much on offense. That being said, they have been shooting themselves in the foot lately. It became a kicking competition between them and the Browns a couple weeks ago. But I think that ultimately the Titans will be able to run the ball. against what looked like a tough, stout run defense last week, but over the course of the season, it has been porous at times. So I think DeMarco Murray will be enough. If DeMarco and Derrick Henry, I think it's going to have a nice, healthy combination there, and I think that's going to be enough to put the game away for Tennessee. Cardinals and 49ers.
Ooh, that's going to be a bad game to watch for whoever. I almost watched that game. C.J. Beathard, don't want to say bless his heart, but bless his heart at this point. There's not a lot around him. 49ers just traded for Jimmy Garoppolo, who's evidently not going to start anytime soon. So Beathard is playing for future backup, I guess. And the Cardinals are without Carson Palmer, but they still have Fitzgerald, the Brown wide receivers, and they still have Adrian Peterson running back. I think they have enough. 49ers don't have enough on offense. They don't have enough around Beathard. They have Carlos Hyde. Then after that, Pierre Garcon and Selleck, not exactly going to scare defense. So I think the Cardinals win probably low 40.
Yeah, in the battle of inept quarterbacks, I do think that we're going to see a heavy dose of Adrian Peterson, and especially against a 49ers defense that gave up 200 yards of total offense to Zeke a couple weeks ago, while Adrian Peterson is no Zeke at this point in his career. I do think he'll be able to run the ball all over that defense and give Stanton enough to come out with a victory. It might be the only victory that Stanton gets the rest of the season, but it's still going to count. Redskins against the Seahawks.
Well, Seahawks defense did not act like Seahawks defense last week and gave up 400 and something yards to a rookie injured, Deshaun Watson. But as we see, that Redskins offense doesn't really have the deep threat. And if Reed and I always forget his name, their other tight end, pass catching tight end from the 49ers out of Maryland.
Vernon Davis.
Vernon Davis, there we go. If they're healthy, it gives them some opportunities to more weapons to throw to underneath and everything. Vernon Davis can go deep, obviously. But I just see the Seahawks and Russell Wilson with their new left tackle, new Pro Bowl left tackle. They're going to have enough to win there. They can make plays down the field. Russell Wilson, I've been saying this for the past 3 seasons, the most underrated player in the NFL. Yeah, he's gonna. I think he's gonna do enough to win.
Yeah, I agree. The Skins' offensive line is still banged up a little bit, and with Seattle's offensive line getting an upgrade, it'll probably have a rough first game, just getting used to the new offense and stuff like that. But ultimately, I think it will be enough difference maker in the run game, which will help Russell Wilson overcome a fairly tough pass rush from the Redskins. So I think that combined with everything, the Seattle will come out on top. Raiders and the Dolphins.
Ooh, Dolphins look like they didn't even try last week. Matt Moore, I don't expect him to be bad ever again for the rest of his life. If he does, he'll never play again for the rest of his life. So, but still, I don't think they have enough on offense. They traded Jay Ajayi to the Eagles, but they're evidently not that hopeful for the run game the rest of the season. So the Raiders still have a dynamic offense. As I think the Raiders can win that game.
Yeah, especially with the way the Raiders looked 2 weeks ago. They looked lights out against the Chiefs. Struggled a little bit last week. I think they'll be able to put enough drives together with Crabtree and Cooper to put up enough points against a struggling Dolphins team. It depends. Honestly, it really depends on how the Dolphins respond to trading their top offensive player in Ajayi. They're still left with Landry, but also Matt Moore as their quarterback. So how they respond to this type of big trade that could improve the locker room, or it could also hurt the locker room from from a morale standpoint. But I just think the Raiders have too much on offense to come out with a victory. I don't think they'll lose. Lions and the Packers.
Yeah, just Brett Hundley and came out that Mike McCarthy wanted to talk to the new Patriots backup Brian Hoyer, after he was released, which is something completely different than what he said 3 weeks ago. You just have to think that they have no running game. They don't even try, which is half the problem. But they still have enough weapons on offense to score points, and against a Packers defense that's not anything but average. And Brett Hundley, unless he makes a big leap, isn't going to get that team scoring a bunch of points. He has the weapons to do it. He's been the offense well enough. But I just don't see the Packers defense doing enough to slow down the Lions for the Packers to win the game.
Yeah, I agree. Matthew Stafford hasn't played very bad this season. There's still not much of a running game in Detroit, but there's never been a running game in Detroit. Stafford's going to throw his 5,000 yards a year, mostly on short passes. But the thing is, Green Bay doesn't have much of a defense, so he shouldn't have too much of an issue there all game. The biggest thing is going to be Brett Hundley. I expect the Packers to run the ball a lot with Aaron Jones. If that is half as successful as it was against the Cowboys early in the season, it could potentially put Hundley in a position to make enough plays to the wide receivers. You got to just put the ball close to guys like Nelson and Devontae Adams, and you might have a chance to win. But ultimately, I think Lions defense, which has been fairly good this season, especially the pass rush, I think that's going to be the difference maker in this game, which is why I think the Lions will come out on top.
The Lions really need to get Barry Sanders out of retirement to have running game back again.
It's going to be better than what they have done. All right, and here is the game that we disagreed on. It's going to be the Chiefs and the Cowboys. As much as I want the Cowboys to win, I just think that the Chiefs have way too much on offense to match up with for our struggling defense.
He softened the blow first. Yeah, I picked the Cowboys. As we talked about earlier in the show, it really depends on what scheme they come up with on defense to try to slow down the Chiefs. But the Chiefs' defense isn't shut down. They can still try to control the ball with the run game, which I have no doubt they're still going to be able to run the ball effectively with the stable of running backs they have. They've been playing this all season, despite what they've been saying publicly. So, I mean, they still have enough to do it, and Dak's still quarterback. Beasley looks like he's going to play. Witten's going to play. Dez is still there. He might be shut up by Marcus Peters, who knows, but still he's going to be out there. And the fact that it's at home, even though Cowboys are the best home record, I think they can do enough to keep the Chiefs off the field and score points. It's going to come down to how they do in the red zone. They can score those touchdowns. They give their defense a chance. And basically, hey, just keep them out of the end zone, which you have the defensive line playing outside of its mind, which no one expected coming into the season. They pressure Alex Smith, get another forced fumble, special teams play well. They can win this game. I expect it to be a close game. I would be greatly demoralized if the Cowboys get blown out in this game, but I think they can win this game if the coaching is there. I hate to go back to this game. Cowboys would have won the game against the Packers if Linehan didn't get too cute at the end of that game. Got the coaching there, play calling's there on both sides. They will win this game. Close game, but I think they can win it.
Yeah, I really hope you're right, to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind if this was the pick that gives you the edge and pick them this year. But, yeah, like you said, and what I said earlier in the episode, the biggest thing is going to be keeping Kelsey out of the end zone. Tyreek Hill is probably still going to bust one off for a long gain and a touchdown, but their biggest weapon in the red zone is Travis Kelsey, and being able to keep him out of the end zone and stop them and hold him to a field goal is going to be huge. And to us coming out with the win.
And
Absolutely.
I'll be able to tell fairly pretty soon and early in that game with the stretch that came into that game if the Cowboys really have a chance to slow down the Chiefs on offense. It'll be apparent really quick. If Tyreek Hill is left one-on-one on the outside with no safety help, don't expect the Cowboys to win the game. Or expect him to make a drastic change immediately on defense. Like, I don't even know why Maryland would go into the game with that. There's no one in the NFL that can probably run with Tyreek Hill. So we'll see. I hope they know what they're. I hope they know what they're doing. I just got a good strategy coming in this game because that's what it's really going to come down to, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I agree. Garnelli is a better coordinator than what I give him credit for. He has a lot more experience than I do, so hopefully he's prepared for this type of speed.
And I'll give him credit. I said to not blitz Kirk Cousins at all last week. I was like, his quarterback rating's outside of this world when he's blitzed. Blitzed him a couple times, blitz got home a couple times, and, well, wide receivers helped a bit with all the drop balls they had, but it didn't end up killing them. So it is what it is. Expect to see some – I expect him to blitz, and I will hold my breath when that happens, especially if Tyreek Hill is on a go route.
Yeah, that's when the Kansas City's at its most dangerous, when Hill's streaking down the field. Looks like Pierre Garçon just went on injured reserve.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely the 49ers not winning that game then. Every time. And C.J. Beathard just started shaking his head repeatedly until the game on Sunday.
Garoppolo is willing to sit until next year.
Yeah, you don't want. Yeah, there's. I mean, we're not. I don't like bashing teams, but there's really nothing. Compare this to an MLB team who was spending $50 million on the payroll. They don't have any aspirations of winning. They don't have any expectations of winning, and they're just basically like, we've got all these picks. We're going to try to rebuild the draft, and with our salary cap having all of the cap space they have, they're just hoping. They're just basically now they're just evaluating players for next season and the years to come. They don't have anything left on offense to scare people off from the outside.
Yeah, I really don't have a problem with how Lynch is going about rebuilding this team. I think he's doing a good job. He fielded a team that was competitive for most of the first half of the season. Taking a good look at the young players from last year's draft and also acquiring more picks. I think this is the right way to go about rebuilding a team this day and age, especially with the salary cap. You got to infuse. You got to start off with a young nucleus, and then you add veterans. Become close.
And they have a young coach as well.
Yeah, and a young hotshot coach. I think over the next, they probably won't be competitive they probably won't next year, but the following year, especially if Garoppolo pans out or they draft a better one, I think within 2 years the 49ers will be back to the 49ers of old.
And yeah, coaching GM on a 6-year deal, so ownership evidently is cool with them going ahead and doing what they're doing.
Yeah, that's the right way to do it. You give your GM and your head coach long contracts, knowing it's a rebuilding team. You can't be realistic to expect them to completely rebuild a franchise in a matter of 2 seasons. It takes time. It takes time and patience.
They made that mistake twice after firing Jim Harbaugh for stupid reasons, and having short leases on coaches. So that they're basically okay, we learned our lesson.
Yeah, well, Harbaugh bolted. I don't think he got fired. He bolted for Michigan, but
they were gonna.
He's writing on the wall. He didn't. He wouldn't have had much of a team in San Francisco had he stayed, and his alma mater called him. However,
there were a lot of rumors that they were not happy with ownership because I was like, you have this guy who's taking your team to the NFC Championship, one holding call in the NFL away from in the end zone from probably a Super Bowl victory. Definitely there was a holding on that play. Every time I watch that play, it's like he definitely held. So yeah, they set themselves up to have this problem, I think. But yeah, C.J. Beathard he's the one you have to feel the worst for because he's like, yeah, I'm a rookie quarterback and I'm starting on this team with nothing around me. I'm gonna get my head bashed in, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. On a side note, with 3 minutes left in the first quarter, the Jets are up 7-0.
Yeah, we did. We obviously didn't pick this game since the show is airing on Friday. And was that the last game for Pick'em? Or was it? Oh yeah, that was it. That was all the Pick'em. So basically, it's
Yeah,
small talk. Pretty much, yeah. We don't even plan for this segment, and it's just whatever comes up comes up. Pretty much, I guess this week is just with the Zeke situation and all that stuff being around the Cowboys and talking heads want to talk about it excessively. All the shows have to talk about it on DallasCowboys.com, all the speculations and stuff. It's just like it's just like when Sunday comes around, it's like yeah, just they're going to still go play football, whether what happens or doesn't happen. And no, I just just that situation is just getting me. Yeah, if in some stretch of the imagine, if in some realm of possibility he did absolutely positively nothing, yeah, you understand why he's fighting. But at this point, it's like Article 46 of the CBA says what Goodell did is standard procedure. So it's basically like you're never going to win this in a court. So, and that's the part to me. That's why Brady took it as far as did, why Zeke's taking as far as is like Article 46 says the commissioner has his power. It was collectively bargained. Why would a judge overturn a union ruling? Like I don't know, but yeah, there's that. That's been on my mind. But also, yeah, before we start recording, we had a conversation about quarterbacks, and there just not being that many decent backup quarterbacks in the NFL. You think A.J. McCarron might have been one, Garoppolo might have been one. No, but Garoppolo's going to be the man in San Francisco more likely next year. And you have, I mean, like Drew Stanton. I mean, he's not lit up the world when he's got a chance to play, but he's still a backup for the Cardinals. I'm just like, try someone new, question mark? Or, I don't know, but yeah, but backup quarterbacks in the NFL, like, what do you think about backup quarterbacks? Do you think
well, I
there's a
think
problem?
there not being enough backup quarterbacks that are good in this league is because there's not enough starting quarterbacks that are good enough in this league. You have 75% of the league has their quarterback that they want to move forward with, while the other ones are just have a revolving door, a la the Cleveland Browns. There's a few more that I could name. I'm drawing a blank at this moment in time, but the problem is the game in college is so much different than the pro game right now. The quarterbacks coming out, they run a spread air raid offense for the most part, which I thoroughly enjoy watching the air raid. Don't get me wrong, it just doesn't prepare the quarterbacks to perform well at the pro level because more often than not, the pro level offenses are schematically and schematically different.
A lot.
Especially what you want to try to accomplish.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's a lot of what it comes down to is a lot of player. Because basically, when you the spread off, this is more of an inside personnel day talk. But when you look at the spread personnel, it's mostly all shotgun. You're not going to be doing that in the NFL for the most part. Like, for the most part, you're going to have to learn how to drop back. And spread offense is pretty much you, X receiver, you're running a post. No matter what the defense shows, you're running that.
And it's not even that, though. A fifth of your throws are going to be wide receiver bubble screens or quick screens. It's just that doesn't it doesn't do justice for the quarterback to put together tape for NFL scouts when you do that. NFL scouts make all
it's so scripted and predetermined of what happens in spread offense, and
you don't read
most quarterbacks. Yeah, you don't read the defense. It's like you
have a pre-snap read to put the right play in, but then you don't have the progression reads to find the right guy.
And you don't really have sometimes you don't have a chance to check down. There's no wide receiver. Hey, if they're showing you this, a post snap, you run this route. And if they're showing you this, you run that route, and that's all you're running that post. You're just running the post, just run the post, just run the post. And that's why you see wide receivers and quarterbacks having problems transitioning into the NFL. It's a slow transition sometimes because they have to learn everything from scratch. And that's a big thing. I do think that's why I thought Carson Wentz was going to be able to be successful quickly when I was scouting him. Was because they kind of North Dakota State, they were running a pro style offense. He took the last downs from under center. You could see him up there checking, and you saw some of the throws he was making. And that's why I honestly thought Dak Prescott would need to have sat for 2 to 3 seasons because of the offense Dan Mullen ran, which made Tim Tebow look competent at quarterback. So I thought, but Dak evidently worked really hard, fixed his footwork. His motion has changed since his college tape. A little bit, and he's more accurate with his throws from his college days. So I mean, there's some changes. Like I don't think anyone expected Dak Prescott to do what he did, even what was around him. So I mean, that's one of the big things. I think you can't really blame college coaches for doing it because it's giving them the best chance to win, but it's not developing quarterbacks for the next level that well for the most part. That's for teams that run the spread. Like ECU runs some formation of the spread at this point, and it's just like looks pretty when it works, which for this year, not much. But you're not helping anyone get to the next level.
No, not at all. Yeah, don't get me started about ECU right now.
When we see that problems in college and transition over, I mean, even the offensive linemen run the spread. You don't really do run blocking. You do draws and draws and draws. I don't know. It's just it's just a weird thing coming over, and I guess that's a good point with that, and seeing how quarterbacks develop and why I would be hesitant right now to draft a guy in the first round and throw him in immediately because you came from the spread. We're not doing the Lane Gabbert thing with you. Not doing that. Sit down for a couple of these seasons, at least one. Patrick Mahomes is going to benefit greatly from that because Alex Smith is playing out of his mind, and he's not going to see the field when the game matters at all this season.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes was definitely drafted into the right situation. On the opposite side of that, Mitch Trubisky was put in the wrong situation to succeed so far, at least at this point in his career. I remember I was talking the other day. The Bears definitely should have stuck with Glennon for longer than they did because he gives them more of a quarterback who's seen the NFL defenses a lot more, and I think it gives them a lot more in the passing game. I guess they failed, especially after the game against the Panthers last week, that a heavy dose of Jordan Howard is all they really need and allow Trubisky to only throw 7 times and still come out with a win. But I think that had more to do with just an atrocious Panthers offense. But that's a different conversation.
DeShone Kizer. DeShone Kizer got thrown into a horrific situation as well. And yeah, you just don't want to put a young quarterback on a team like that. Like the Bears situation is even more frustrating because they didn't have to. You spent all that money on Mike Glennon. You didn't have to go and throw in Trubisky and make him the guy going forward immediately after 13 starts in college. So I don't know. I think this is something that gets to me just a little bit with quarterbacks develop. And yeah, that's kind of this small talk is kind of a look inside of what inside personnel is going to be when we start breaking down things and talking about these schemes and college quarterbacks and what they do and how they perform. So I mean, yeah, that was just on my mind. It's like, why is if a player like guys like Hundley might develop someday, but a lot of quarterbacks around, like for example the Cowboys, Cooper Rush has to start a game for the Cowboys. For one, I hope they just pull up Kellen Moore and he starts because Cooper Rush is not going to give you a chance in hell to win a football game right now. So, sorry, a lot of Cowboys fans won't agree with that, but it's like no, Cooper Rush is not going to win you a regular season football game at this point.
Yeah, you're not gonna strike gold twice in that regard with low drafted quarterbacks.
Oh, or yeah, he would be another Tony Romo situation, undrafted guy comes in. Yeah, it's like that's you don't want to see that. And then Tony Romo sat for quite some time as well. So
yeah, he sat.
Forget that.
3 seasons. I think he started his third season.
Yeah, 2.5 seasons. He was sitting there learning, being screamed at by Bill Parcells. So yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of getting close on time for this episode, and yeah, we'll definitely be back next week, and all the social media should be up next week as well. And we're definitely going to try to spread everything to a new audience to get more people watching, listening. And again, yeah, this is Saloon Sports with Ben and Walter, and we will be back next week.
All right, take care.